So this right here is our passing lane. Let's pretend like we have to pass someone even though there is no one here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2021 Mazda CX-30 Turbo, and with all that being said, let's just get straight into it. So under the hood of the CX-30 Turbo, we have a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 22 around town and then 30 on the highway. Now, power outputs are stated to be 227 horsepower and then 310 pound-feet of torque. But from what I've heard, if you put premium gas in it, it'll jump the horsepower up to 250. And so, yeah, just crazy powerful for the segment. Go over the front end, and first off, this is finished in polymetal gray metallic, which is one of the most beautiful paint colors I've ever seen in my life. You can see, especially here in the sunlight, just the look of it, just absolutely fantastic. Coming down below, we've got these full LED lights. I love the accent lighting that goes around it. It looks really good. And then we've got parking sensors here on the front end. And then notice we also have the Mazda logo that doubles as a sensor. And then we've got the plastic cladding here on the bottom portion, which I know some people might make some comments on that. I think it looks good with the overall theme. And the other thing is, if this gets damaged from taking it off-road or anything like that, this is going to be a lot less expensive to replace than if it was body painted. So I'm all about it. And yeah, other than that, that is everything for the front end. Now, coming on the side here, we've got two 15mm tires wrapped around 18-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And I really like the contrast with the wheels and then the paint color on this particular one, because they've completely like blacked out the wheels as part of the design. I think it just looks really good overall. Now, again, I know some people have been talking about the plastic molding that goes all the way down the side, and they wish that was body painted. But again, this is just going to hold up so much better over time. This is kind of like a high traffic area for rock chips and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that it's plastic is going to make it so that it looks better down the road. And then again, if you ever do any camping or off-roading or anything, I'd much rather have that to replace than something that was painted. But that's just me. And the fact that it goes all along the bottom, I don't know. I think it looks good personally. I like the contrast. I mean, I've purposefully wrapped vehicles matte black so they have this look. So yeah, I think it looks good from the side angle perspective, and I like the plastic molding. Now let's pop here into the trunk area. So first off, we have this little strap, which you pick that up, and this is where the spare tire lives its life. Storage space is really good. Again, for a smaller sized SUV slash lifted hatchback, that's kind of what I look at this, is it's like a lifted hatchback pretty much. Really good storage space. You have a cargo cover already built in as well. And then also the fact that this is automated. A lot of SUVs in this segment won't have automated hatches. You can lock it from the back and then also press that, and then, whew, totally hit into my fence. Then you can lower it back down. Finish things up in the rear. So first off, I love how they did the black accenting here for the spoiler in the back. And then you guys know I'm a huge fan of Mazda's newer taillights. I think they just look really sleek, really clean. You've got your Skyactiv G turbo badge on that side, and then you've got your CX-30 all-wheel drive badge, so whoever knows which model you're rocking. This is not to the car, but I love how you have the Mazda feel alive on the license plate cover. And then we've got parking sensors here in the back, and we've got the dual outlet exhaust, which I think looks really cool, really sporty. And yeah, other than that, that is everything for the rear. Now let's go over the door panel here in the back. So first off, we've got nice soft touch leather here on the side, and then we're going to rest your arm as well. And then we've got one of the window controls back here, and you've got some piano black trim around that, which looks really good. And then here are the seats in the back. So full leather seats here. We've got the perforated leather here in the center portion of the seat, and let's pop in. So for stepping in, pretty much just slide right across. I'm 5'11", and yeah, I actually have quite a few inches of headroom above me, and then legroom's actually pretty good as well. And then we've got a couple of vents right here, and then this is kind of like the armrest cup holder situation. Yeah, overall, definitely a nice back seating area. Now here's a door panel in the front of the CX-30. So again, we've got the nice soft touch leather all over here. And then we've got the door lock and unlock. And then notice that this does come with the Bose sound system. A couple window controls right here, and then that is for the mirror adjustments. And then here are the front seats. So again, you've got really nice leather here, perforated leather all down the center and then on the bolsters. You've got your power adjustments there on the side of the seat. And then we've got the pedals just down below, and then the hood latch release. And then up here, we've got this for the rear hatch, the memory seat function. That's for the safety tech, the camera view, parking sensors. And then that's kind of like your off-road mode. And there's our more look before we pop in. Now here's the steering wheel in the CX-30. So first off, you've got really nice leather all around the steering wheel itself, and then you've got black stitching on the center. We have our cruise control and lane keep assist on the one side. It is adaptive, by the way. We've got our controls for like the center stack, volume, voice command controls, all that kind of stuff. Paddles here on the back. And then you've got your light / turn signal stalk, winch wiper stalk on the other side, and that's all for the steering wheel. Now popping here into the center stack, first off, remember we have that off-road mode that'll kind of pop open right there. And then if you turn off the safety tech, then it'll say off right there. And then also there's a sport mode, which says sport. All pretty simple. I love the clean look of the gauges. You've got the RPMs over on the left side. You've got the speed front and center. And then there are a couple screens you can scroll through there in the center stack, which give you different bits of information on the CX-30. Pretty easy to use, but my favorite viewpoint is kind of this with the gauge cluster, just because I think it looks really clean. Here's the center infotainment system. First off, let's pop it into reverse. You guys can see we've got a backup camera here with trajectory lines. Then we've got the bird's eye view as well with that camera. Resolution on this camera system is really, really good actually. But that's not all. This has my favorite type of camera. If we press the camera view button, we have a front camera as well. You guys know I love that, especially for doing off-roading. And then also if you're in a tight parking space, pulling it in or out, definitely a nice feature. Aside from that front camera view, there's a couple other camera views, so you can kind of change the view like that, and then also have a side view as well. And as for the rest of the infotainment system, it's not a touchscreen. You control everything via dial. So for example, if you want to go to navigation, then you can press that. Relatively easy to use with the dial system. It would be awesome if it did have a touchscreen function, but this infotainment system is easy enough to use, and that's all for the screen. Now I've got some analog climate controls right here. This does have a dual zone climate, heated seats, heated steering wheel, all that nice stuff. And then we've got the stop start button right here, some extra storage space, cup holders. And then here is the shifter for that 6-speed automatic. Again, here's the drive mode select with the sport mode on or off. Your parking brake, your auto hold, controls for the center infotainment system, and then your volume control. Here's the center console, which is kind of interesting. You kind of pull it back and then up, which is different. Storage space is good in it though. And then coming over the glove box, notice we have a nice piece of metallic trim, and that's what lets you open the glove box with it. And then I really like just the lines in this. So notice we've got the lines there across for the vents, really nice dash material. And then here goes over to the door. You guys can see where it connects there on the side. Looks really good from a design standpoint. Like this dash, one of the most beautiful that you can get today. I think it just looks really good design wise. Up top here, we do have a sunglass holder, and then we've got a sunroof, which lets a decent amount of light into the cabin, lighter colored headliner, and well, that's all for the top. So here's our window sticker for the CX-30 Turbo. You guys can feel free to freeze the frame if you want to read all of the options that this particular one has. And then you can see the actual optional equipment right there at the bottom. So pretty much everything is standard. And then there's just a few options you can add. And you guys can see the total MSRP right there, $35,400. Let's take her out and see how she drives. Let's talk about visibility in the CX-30 before we set off. So you guys can see visibility of the hood and then the heads-up display. Here's your visibility through both the mirrors. They do have blind spot monitoring. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. So we are starting off here in the CX-30. And I decided to choose this road because it's kind of got some twists and turns and bumps and all that kind of stuff. So to really test out kind of everything on the CX-30, right? The suspension, the handling, and just all the important stuff with this vehicle. So first off, from a ride quality perspective, it's actually really smooth on road. Now, when you go over stuff that's extremely bumpy, and this is every single vehicle in this segment, yeah, it does upset it a little bit. That's what happens when you have such a light SUV. That being said though, overall does a fantastic job, and on pretty much any regular road that is not completely destroyed, it's going to be completely fine. So yeah, no issues with that whatsoever. Something that I'm really impressed with on the CX-30 is the handling with this car, and this is just something that pretty much goes across the lineup with Mazdas. They all have just such good handling. Now, this does have an electric steering rack. In terms of the feel, you get a little bit through, not a massive amount, but again, when I compare this to its competitors, this has steering feel. The other vehicles in this segment do not. So it actually has a lot going from it from a steering perspective compared to the competitors. But the thing that I love the most about the steering is the directness. Like, as soon as you put an input, it just changes direction. It's so light on its feet. It's so nimble. It's definitely a fun, exciting little SUV to just drive around. And you could actually kind of, as a car enthusiast, you could drive this around and just have tons of fun with it up and down a canyon road, which, by the way, I will be taking this up and down a canyon road. So if you want that video wise, then please subscribe, and yeah, we'll get that posted. We'll see how it does around this kind of, yeah, really good job. Now, aside from the handling characteristics and the suspension and all that, what about the power? Because again, this is the turbo version, and that is the part that I'm really impressed with. That really differentiates this from other competitors in the segment, because again, most SUVs in the segment don't even offer a turbocharged engine. And it's kind of interesting because the base model CX-30 is already pretty much quicker than the other SUVs in the segment, and then they have the CX-30 Turbo, which is even faster. So it's like, any other SUV in the segment just has no chance when it comes to the CX-30. I mean, look at this. Like, it just moves. This right here is our passing lane. Let's pretend like we have to pass someone even though there is no one here. You can see the CX-30 is just so quick. And by the way, that is in the sport mode. Yeah, it's just, again, compared to the other SUVs in this segment, it just feels so much quicker. So I've picked this last road to kind of sum things up, because this is kind of a fun little curvy road that we can get some spirited driving on. And again, you can see it actually handles very flat. Like, there is not a whole lot of body roll with the CX-30, which again kind of lends to a more fun enthusiast type drive. But let's kind of get into summing things up here with the CX-30. First off, again, from an exterior styling perspective, I think it's a really good looking SUV on the outside. It pretty much just looks like a much more dressed up, fancier CX-3, and that's obviously the vehicle that this replaces. Interior wise, again, especially compared to the other vehicles in the segment, very nice in terms of the material quality, but then also in terms of the design layout, just all really top notch, and all the touch points feel really nice. Again, steering wheel feels nice, the shifter feels nice, even though you're not really going to touch it a bunch because it's an automatic. Still, at least that touch point is nice. All the controls for like the climate system, everything, they just feel really nice to touch. And then aside from all of that, in terms of the driving, what is it actually like here with the CX-30? So again, from a steering perspective, the steering is really direct. I'm actually going to pop it into the regular mode. Steering's really direct. You do get a good amount of feedback through it, not a massive amount, but again, compared to the other vehicles in this segment, you get way more feedback. And then in terms of the acceleration and everything, it's strong for this segment. It definitely just, I mean, I usually try not to mention their vehicles, but you know, we'll just say it right now. If you get into like the Toyota CHR, for example, or you get into like, especially the Subaru Crosstrek, I feel like that's the one that people really compare this against, is the Crosstrek. This thing is like a rocket ship compared to a Crosstrek, and that's why you guys should really watch the Canyon review that I'm gonna be posting on this, so you can see, just like, look at this. Like, it moves. The Crosstrek doesn't. I'm just being honest. Like, they need to put a turbocharged engine in that or something. And this really shows that deficit, and especially at elevation. I mean, right now we're at about 5,000 feet elevation. You guys can imagine at higher elevation, you really struggle with the Crosstrek. So it's fast, it's fun to drive, it looks good, has a great interior. It really just differentiates itself from its competitors. And so I'm just gonna say this right now, coming out of the gate, if you're looking at this type of smaller sized SUV, you have to check out the CX-30. It's my #1 pick right now. And also, I haven't really talked about this too much in the review, the fact that this has an automatic transmission, a regular torque converter automatic, and so it definitely feels better with the gear shifts compared to the CVTs in most of the competitors. So yeah, that is the CX-30. Now that's gonna sum things up for our video on this 2021 Mazda CX-30 Turbo, and as always, I will see all of you in that next video.